Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. How are you today? Today's video will be a supplement to the Erickson Grossman civil wrongful death case. Coffee time with Juxtaposition. You can get one of these mugs for $150. Appreciate the contribution to support my work. All right, so today is Tuesday, May 12th, 2026. And where is Scott Erickson? He's gone absent without leave. We have no explanation. We don't know where he is. I assume that he went on a bender last night, a binge bender with martinis and steroids and whatever else amphetamine products he used and fled the scene. Or he drank himself into a stupor and is in a coma, and they're trying to resuscitate him now. He was scheduled for continued direct examination by Brian Panish, the lawyer who represents the Iskander family, Nancy and Karim, who are suing Scott Erickson and Rebecca Grossman for a minimum of $100 million. That's right, I said 100 million, 50 million apiece. Anyway, he spent approximately 3 hours Monday testifying. They started an hour and 45 minutes late. They finished a good hour and 45 minutes too early, in my opinion. And they took two very long 20-minute breaks. And so it worked out to, with all the interruptions and sidebars, that Scott Erickson was under the microscope for approximately 3 hours yesterday. Much to my surprise, Juxtaposition never thought we would even see Scott Erickson in the courtroom. If you subpoena him, which he was subpoenaed, you do have to appear in court. However, you don't need to speak. You can evoke your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent and not answer questions. You can sit mute. That would have been my legal advice to Scott Erickson. So, to my utter astonishment, that's not what happened. He attempted to answer questions. So here's what we learned yesterday, whilst we wait around to see if he can be dragged into court on day two, to complete his train wreck of a testimony, is that I smell a rat here, people. You know, all these trials are fixed and rigged, right? There's much more discussions going on, undocumented, without a transcript, outside the courtroom than anything you'll see that the stenographer will transcribe. The actual testimony in court represents maybe 5% of the total communications on these cases. Most of the discussions that go on are called ex parte communications. They're unethical, they're prohibitive transactions. The judges participate in them, all the lawyers participate in them. They're highly unethical. California Superior Courts are a cesspool of corruption. In this case, we have Judge Huey Cotton. He was appointed by a steroid bodybuilding beauty queen, Arnold Schwarzenegger, back in 2009. Huey Cotton is not to be respected in any way whatsoever, and none of the lawyers in the courtroom are legitimate or honest and ethical, and that would include Brian Panache, the wrongful death personal injury lawyer for the Iskander family, who worked for Amgen blood doping company, Life Sciences in Thousand Oaks. So even the victims are tainted with blood doping and human augmentation, and all the attorneys, of course, are fully corrupt, 100%. And they are concerned about how to get paid, the sources and uses of how their fee will come in. And the number one place to get the money is from Major League Baseball's corporate sponsors, and also pulling in a credit from Peter Grossman, who lied like a rug in the Anne Heche fiery car crash, where he lied to tell you about her burn injuries, and he lied about her death in the West Hills Hospital, where he is not an employee, but he does have privileges to act as a plastic surgeon for Botox, liposuction, and breast augmentation, but nothing to do with burning or sunburning or burn unity. Anyway, here's what we learned yesterday. It appears that Scott Erickson's lawyer sold him out and somehow convinced him to get on that stand and actually answer questions. Scott Erickson is a pathological liar. He's a lifetime alcoholic. He comes from an alcoholic family. You can see the disease that is alcoholism when you look at Scott Erickson. He's been taking anabolic steroids and amphetamines since he was 14 years old. That's 44 years of steroid and performance enhancing drugs. And he's been drinking every single day, too. He admitted on the stand, Scott Erickson said that he drinks alcohol every single day for the last 10 years. That's what he said. That's what he said. And when asked if he has a drinking problem, he said, no. Do you know, have you ever driven impaired? And he said, once in his entire life, he drank and drove. Okay, if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you. All right. This guy drinks every day. And on the date that the little boys were killed in the crosswalk, Scott Erickson had been drinking from at least 2:30 in the afternoon until 7 p.m. at night. That is a long time to be drinking. That's 4.5 hours of drinking. He spent at least 3 of those hours at the Stonehouse Bar in Westlake Village, where he drank beer one after another. Probably had 10 beers, but at least 6, right? And then he took that drinking party with his friend, another steroid baseball player, Royce Clayton, and they went over to Julio's Agave Grill, where they had margaritas, grande margaritas. And a grande is equivalent to 2 regular margaritas. And Scott Erickson had 2 grandes. 2 grandes is 4 margaritas. So if you take 10 beers plus 2 grandes, you got 14 drinks in approximately 4.5 hours. Then he gets into a souped up race car, an AMG Mercedes, 577 horsepower, modified suspension, souped up engine, bucket seat, racing harnesses, and drives 81 miles per hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone, flying through a crosswalk where Nancy Iskander grabbed her 5-year-old child's hand, Zachary, and dove into the sidewalk onto their knees. And Scott Erickson says he never saw them, but he missed the boys, the 2 older boys, ages 8 and 11, Jacob and Mark. 3 seconds later, Rebecca Grossman torpedoed the 2 boys, the older boys, Mark, age 11, and Jacob, age 8, killed when Rebecca crashed into them. Her view was obscured by the flying, relentless steroid Major League Baseball pitcher Scott Erickson, who dove through that intersection first, threading the needle, but apparently clipping the scooter of young Zachary. It appears that he did make contact with one of the objects that the boys was carrying. There was a skateboard in play and there was a scooter. And we know that a chrome frame from a fog lamp was found in the debris field north of the crosswalk. And you should know that Rebecca Grossman's 2018 AMG identical model, AMG Mercedes Performance Sedan, all-wheel drive, she doesn't have chrome frame fog lamps. You see? So the fog lamp must belong to Scott Erickson's car, 2016 AMG Mercedes. You should hear in the media, they talk about the SUVs, and there was an SUV race and car race. There was no SUVs in the story. They're AMG high-performance sedans. They begin at 177,000 out the door. That's sales tax plus the car. 177,000 minimum to get into entry-level V8 power, 577 horsepower. Now, you can upgrade that and spend up to $250,000 if you want to upgrade to the V12 model. It appears that the cars that Rebecca and Scott Erickson were in were more or less identical, except for the fog lamps. And those cars are V8s, and they can go 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.9 seconds, right? Under 4 seconds. And they have a top speed of about 180 miles per hour. They were traveling 81 miles an hour when they entered the crosswalk with the Iskander family, Nancy, the mother, on rollerblades leading, like the ducklings. She's the mother duck. And behind her was the 5-year-old Zachary with a scooter that it appears Scott clipped that rear tire of the scooter and broke something off his car, which had been his right front fog lamp. Then Scott continued fleeing the scene when then Rebecca, who was 300 feet behind, traveling at 81 miles per hour, according to her telemetry data, she plows into Jacob and Mark, killing them both more or less instantly. Jacob lingered a few hours and then died. Broke every bone in their body. Okay, that's what we know. Those are the facts of the case. They're not in dispute. They're not in dispute. Do you know they're not in dispute? But if you heard Scott Erickson's testimony, he denied everything, right? He said he didn't flee the scene. When 3 witnesses said he fled the scene. When he himself said that he was at the boathouse observing for many hours after the crash, making phone calls frantically to his agent and to a Jewish lawyer in Calabasas by the name of James Silverstein. That's right, I said Silverstein. James Silverstein, a personal injury lawyer in Calabasas, which is not far from the crash scene. And there's Scott Erickson calling an attorney and calling his agent, Jeff Boris, and living in a home not belonging to him in Malibu near Point Doom. It belongs to his agency. His agent, his sport agency, owns numbers of homes that he flops in. We learned that Scott Erickson is incapable of telling the truth. He lies like a rug. He lies like you breathe. Like you breathe, Scott Erickson lies. He lies. He deletes his WhatsApp text messages. He deletes. He lies. He talks to his sporting lawyer. He talks to his cohort, Royce Clayton, about alibying him. And we learned most strikingly, most astonishingly, Scott Erickson admitted to hundreds of felony crimes while on the witness stand. I don't know why the judge didn't arrest him immediately. The judge certainly should have asked him for his driver's license. If he has a California driver's license, a Nevada driver's license, or an Arizona driver's license. You know, this guy travels the United States constantly. He says he's unemployed, but he does do celebrity golf tournaments for charity. And his agent books him for that, but since COVID, it hasn't been as robust. He's still living in homes that don't belong to him. He's driving an unregistered sports car. The AMG Mercedes is not registered. Did you know it's not registered and hasn't been registered for the 6.5 years he's owned it? And he hasn't paid any registration fees on it, and he doesn't have any insurance on it. And yet he's driving 81 miles per hour in a 45 through a crosswalk. That's what we learned yesterday from Scott Erickson's own mouth. From his own mouth, he said that he cold plates. He takes the registered license plate from his 2007 SUV Mercedes and he transfers it on to the unregistered, illegally unregistered car. And then he drives to Reno, Nevada, to Virginia Street. We have him on flock cameras in Reno. We have him on flock cameras in Las Vegas near the Hard Rock Cafe on Paradise Road. We have him having his sports car serviced. His unregistered sports car is serviced at the Midas oil change facility over by the Luxor Pyramid. There's a Midas service station down South Las Vegas Boulevard. And we know he goes to Pebble Beach for golf celebrity tournaments where he is paid money, I guess. And what I'm telling you is this guy, every time you get in a car with a license plate that is not legally belonging to the VIN number of that, it's a felony crime. And he admitted to doing it for 6.5 years. That means potentially it's 2,000 felony counts of cold plating. That's what he admitted on the stand. That's 2,000 felonies. So that's number one. Number two is he admitted to lying to the sheriff's detective, David Hulson. He lied to him. I lost count of how many times he lied to him, but it's illegal to lie to a sheriff about a double homicide. It's illegal. That's a felony. And he committed multiple felony lies to the sheriff. He lied about what did you have to drink? He was asked. He said 1 regular margarita. That's a lie. He drank 14 drinks and 4 margaritas. So I don't know how you get to tell that you drank 1 when you drank 4 margaritas, and then you forgot to mention all the beers that you consumed at the Stonehouse bar. which the sheriff's detective is very familiar with both of those establishments, the Stonehouse Bar and Julio's Agave Grill, which, by the way, is permanently closed now since this tragedy back on September 29, 2020, 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago. You should know that he also lied when the sheriff asked Scott on the telephone 9 days after the event had happened, what car were you driving that night? And he lied and said, my 2007 Mercedes SUV black. It's a lie. He wasn't in that. He was in a black AMG Mercedes high performance sedan, all wheel drive, 577 horsepower twin turbo. That's the car. It's unregistered. He lied to the sheriff. When the sheriff's department and district attorney issued a formal request to present the car for inspection months later, he presented the incorrect car, the 2007 SUV Mercedes black. He never told them as they took photographs and crawled underneath his car to inspect the bumper and undercarriage. He never told them, oh, by the way, I wasn't driving that car during the crash night. He allowed them to believe that that was the car. The actual car was parked in one of his friends' homes, which we learned is a guy by the name of Pollock. His last name is Pollock, and his first name is, I think, Clay Pollock. Anyway, he he concealed the car that he was driving, which had to have been repaired covertly, secretively, under the table, because I think that right fog lamp was damaged from the night of September 29, 2020. But anyway, so Scott lied to the sheriff about the car that he was driving, how many drinks he had. The sheriff asked him, tell me everything about that night. Scott told the minimum about that night, and what he did tell was a bald-faced lie. Then he lied about, did he flee the scene? He lied about that. He lied. I mean, I've lost track of the lies. My goodness me, there are so many lies. When asked about what car he was driving and presenting it, he lied again, continuously hoping that he would never be found out. He even admitted that on the stand yesterday, that he had hoped that it would never be found out, that he lied about concealing the car that he was driving. He hoped that would never be found out. But now everyone knows, and watching my channel or becoming a paid member to the Juxtaposition channel, you now know that Scott Erickson is a felon. He's a criminal. And yet the judge, Huey Cotton, he didn't issue an arrest warrant or a bench warrant right there. And he didn't take his driver's license from him. And he didn't confirm what state are you licensed in. When you drive a cold-plated car between states, and Scott admitted driving between California and Nevada, that's a federal felony. So you could be charged in federal court as well as driving around the state of California with a wrong license plate on your car, cold-plated. That's a felony too. So it's around 2,000 counts, I'm estimating, of felony crimes having to do with cold plating. And then there's lying to the sheriff about your whereabouts and how much you drank and which car you were driving. That's multiple felonies. I'll let the district attorney decide, but it's probably a dozen felonies. You can throw the Kennedy assassination in. Why not? Who cares? So you got that, and then you got that Scott Erickson is a dirtbag. He fled the scene of a crime. That's the third felony. And now he has a new girlfriend, and he's been golfing the last week to 2 weeks in Cabo San Lucas, staying at his new girlfriend's house. That's right. He has a new girlfriend. He's got rid of the retread known as Rebecca Grossman because she's in prison for 15 years to life. So he dumped her. He doesn't communicate with her anymore. And he has a new hot young babe whose name is Stacy Kimball Stimson, and her elderly husband passed away at age 77 just recently. So maybe they met at a dating site. I don't know. Stacy Kimball is now the new official girlfriend of steroid pitcher from the World Series champions, Minnesota Twins, 1991. Scott Erickson was a pitcher in that series. He has a World Series ring. He is an alcoholic drunkard and a drunk driver. We know that for a fact. And Rebecca Grossman has been cast aside and replaced by the recent widow, Stacy Kimball. And I have photographs that I will include in this in footnotes below. That's what we've learned. We learned, look, and I'm just touching the surface. It it's not possible for Scott Erickson to tell the truth about anything. He lies about little things that aren't important, and he lies about big things that are material. He's concealed evidence. He's destroyed evidence in a double homicide murder of Mark Iskander and Jacob Iskander, who were murdered in a crosswalk. It's second-degree homicide, to be specific. And Scott Erickson is 50% responsible for this. He was the lead out man. The narrative is to blame everything 100% on Rebecca Grossman. That's fine. She's guilty. She's super guilty. She absolutely is responsible for 50%. She's in the exact same car, going the exact same speed, and she's following him, and she's depending on him to not crash the cars. And he betrayed her, and he is a treacherous, alcoholic, steroided out, driving while under the influence, Major League Baseball pitcher, typical, rather typical of Major League Baseball. I personally have many experiences with people who have been engaged in felony crimes, who live near me, who played for Major League Baseball, and Tony La Russa knows all of them personally. And Tony La Russa is one of the drunk drivers I'm referring to. I think Tony La Russa has been arrested at least 3 times for DUI himself. Remember, he was the manager of the Oakland A's. And virtually all the players that you've heard of have engaged in speeding, speed contest, racing, and drinking and driving, which is rampant within professional sports. Don't make me say Tiger Woods, right? Don't make me say Jordan's father. Don't make me say that. Don't make me say Michael Vick. But anyway, be that as it may, it's a very long list of doper, drinker, drivers. Doping, drinker, drivers. That's why I say it's steroid DUI testimony. We don't know where Scott Erickson is today. Today is Tuesday. It is now 11:11 a.m. Scott was due in court 2 hours and 11 minutes ago. He's not there, so I'm just going to assume he went on a breakup bender weekend and he got into his sports car and fled because the judge didn't have the courage to arrest him yesterday and make sure he was in a detention cell so that he would be on time for court today. So again, Scott Erickson is exempt under maritime law. They do not arrest him for felony cold plating. They don't arrest him for speeding. They don't charge him with reckless driving. They did charge him, then they dropped the charges when he did a 10-minute public safety video PSA for teenage drivers. So this guy on paper is clean as a whistle, but he has had a domestic violence 911 call. He's had a DUI arrest, and he's had the benefit of being exempted from a criminal double murder homicide case. That's my video for today. Do like and share, and hopefully I will be able to post a video where you'll see Scott Erickson completing his direct examination with Brian Penish regarding the wrongful deaths of Mark and Jacob Iskander. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.